Thank you for turning to 10, your news leader. 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti continues right now.
Welcome back. My guest in studio is Secretary of State Gregg Amore. Welcome in. We've had you in before, and I was up to your place, too, to take a tour of the archives.
Thank you for having me.
I know you want a new building. We'll talk about that coming up in just a bit. But you were involved in a little bit of controversy with the Trump White House. They wanted our voter rolls and personal information that went along with it. You said no. Right. What did you give them? What are you holding back?
So they were given the public rolls that are available to anyone. Yep. We're holding back Rhode Islanders' last 4 digits of their Social Security number and their license number or their state ID number. And we're not alone. Many states have refused that for a whole host of reasons, but mostly because we don't want that information in a centralized place. For 2 reasons: easier to hack, and we don't want a national voter database. That's unconstitutional. Yeah. And so we've refused, and we're not alone. There are Republican secretaries of state that have refused.
Mostly Democrats, though. It's split. Red, blue states. Red states cooperate. Blue states, including us, have not.
The New Hampshire Secretary of State is a Republican. He has not cooperated. Same with Pennsylvania. There are others. So I think there's a contingency that feels like this is a separate issue, right? And elections should be managed by the states, Article 1, Section 4.
Yeah, but apart from those 2 that you mentioned, it is split, blue, red. More red states said, here you go. Yeah, you said no.
I'm only sure of 2 Republican states that have handed over this information. So I'm not sure that that's the case.
Let me play devil's advocate. I trust you with all that information. Why shouldn't I trust the president or his designated deputy? Why shouldn't I trust Uncle Sam?
Yeah, we shouldn't have a centralized national voter database. The reason.
Why not?
Well, the reason that the Founding Fathers put elections management in the hands of the states is so you would not have the influence of the chief executive, right? Again, the background of trying to make sure that the President of the United States didn't have too much power. And I believe in that. I think many Republicans believe in that. Yeah. And so that's the biggest reason to me is you have a definitive separation that the founders talked about. If you read Hamilton's Federalist 59, he goes into why that is. And I believe that. Many Republicans do too.
Well, at the time, the Founding Fathers never envisioned Social Security numbers, driver's licenses, illegals getting driver privilege cards.
Right, but they did want to keep.
The White House is saying, listen, I need to examine this because there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse going on. So show me what you have.
Let's talk about Pawtucket. Yeah. The city of Pawtucket was faced with an inquiry from the Department of Justice, a specific inquiry based on the Voting Rights Act, Section 203. They were not providing information in Spanish, which is a violation of the Voting Rights Act. That's a specific cause that caused the Justice Department to come in and review Pawtucket. This request is a mass request for everybody's information without specific reasoning, and that's inappropriate.
You gave him what public information? And when
name, address, full date of birth.
What did you hold back?
We held back their Social Security numbers and their Rhode Island driver's license numbers or state ID numbers.
Okay, they were suing states. States were suing the administration. We're not involved in the lawsuit.
No, and I think there's been a private suit from within some states that are not actually the state.
Okay, but we're not involved in any legal action. You said no. They haven't called you back?
They have not.
So is it a dead issue? Is it a moot issue? What is it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think the Trump administration is focusing on looking at Georgia now and the 2020 election, and they don't have the capacity or staff to do both things at once, and I honestly don't know.
President favors everybody voting on Election Day. With rare exception, you're going to have surgery, you get an old-fashioned mail-in ballot. Doesn't like early voting, doesn't like mail-in ballots. You say what?
I say that it's unreasonable. We should provide access in as many ways as we can for voters. So the traditional election day voting doesn't offer everybody that opportunity for the reasons you stated, and also because we don't have a traditional work day. There are many people who are working on election day who cannot access the ballot. So we offer them an opportunity here in Rhode Island 20 days early. It's the exact same process in person with a machine, same exact process as election day, and Rhode Islanders love it. They are doing that in greater and greater percentages each and every election.
Is it because your party, the Democrats, are very successful, very skilled in early voting, in mail-in ballots, and some say ballot harvesting? Is that the real reason?
No, I think any good campaign is good at managing a mail ballot operation. Any good campaign, Republican or Democrat. I've talked about this with you before. I think these processes are safe. There are backstops. There are checks. There are cross-checks. I think whenever a candidate loses, they try to find reasons why they lost. And that's both sides. That's both sides. And I think the president is still stuck on 2020, where there's been no real evidence of widespread fraud.
Voter ID. President wants voter ID.
Yeah, we have voter ID, and I support it.
Right.
I support it.
Although voter ID can be, you can look at that 7 different ways. What do you want to show me? When do you want to show me, right?
Yeah, I think our voter ID law is good because you have to present a distinctive ID, and if you don't have it, you vote a provisional ballot, and then we find out if you are who you said you were.
Okay, let's move on to other things. You have been pushing for a new archive building. You want a beautiful museum befitting of our documents as one of the founding colonies. And yet the state legislature hasn't given you that. They haven't given you the millions you demand. Now, I know you're out with a new proposal. It's a different site and it's a different size. Go ahead, make the pitch.
So it's actually the same site we originally proposed across the street from the State House on Smith Street.
Same site, but a different.
But it is a scaled back version of the project. So this would encompass a $45 million history center and archives that would protect our most valuable treasures and archive material.
You showed me, look, the tour here.
Right. So that is the focus. It'd be an education center, an exhibit center, and then the proper storage of those key documents and items. And then we're in negotiation now with URI, but it may not end up being URI that we agree with on storing the rest of the documents, storing the rest of the collection at another state-owned facility. So, as the nation celebrates its 250th birthday, it would be nice for Rhode Island to celebrate its history by agreeing that we need this facility.
It would be nice to have a place to go see it all.
It would.
Right now, the archives, where you store everything that we have valuable, with this, by the way, our copy of the Declaration of Independence, things like that, you store it in a sort of a nondescript office building owned by Joe Paolino downtown. Is there anything wrong with that? I know you'd like something better.
No.
But fire suppression, humidity, it's all under control.
Those documents are preserved well. They are not accessible. And there are some items that we're not preserving up to standard. Film, photographs that need a different location with proper storage. But we should make those items accessible to Rhode Islanders. When Ken Burns was here and he had an opportunity to look at the Goddard copy of the Declaration of Independence, one of 9 in the world, he was overwhelmed. He said he had never seen one before. Rhode Islanders should have access to that. And people will come from across the nation and the world to see these documents.
You're a history teacher.
I am.
All right. I know you want it, but I guess the leadership is saying, don't have the money for that.
Well, we answered the questions that they asked last time around. Specific location, specific plan, and reduced cost. We've answered those questions. There's going to be a new space very soon because we're filled up at the existing space. And that costs money as well because we'll have to refit another leased space to take care of the documents we have.
We just have 2 minutes. We showed the famous Gilbert Stewart painting that hangs in the State House, State Room. You did mention that needs preservation. That's not directly under your control?
It is not. It is not. But we're
just concerned.
We're concerned about it. And it is the exact opposite of what we have with our Declaration of Independence, right? It's accessible, but it's not preserved correctly.
Right. You also mentioned the 250th. What's the correct term?
Semiquincentennial.
The semiquincentennial. I remember the bicentennial.
Yeah. It took me a month.
1976.
Yeah, it took me a month. We won't be here for the tricentennial.
No, we won't. But it's 250 years. Yeah. And you want to be a part of this. And
I'm the chair of the commission.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's the big Operation Sail? What is it?
Well, we don't have the tall ships coming in, but we do have a major water fire event that is at a much greater scale than anything anybody has seen. We brought in Ken Burns. We brought in a great portrait from the Museum of the American Revolution depicting the 1st Rhode Island Regiment. We're going to travel with one of the copies of the Declaration of Independence with a state trooper, properly displayed in all 5 counties. We've got cities and towns with activities. We're planting liberty trees in every city or town, and we have an honor flight. 250 in honor of our veterans, mostly Vietnam War veterans that will travel to D.C.
I've heard some criticism that even with all of that, we're still not doing enough. I mean, the Gatsby is ours. By the way, did you hammer it to Ken Burns? happened here, started here.
We always talk about the Gaspee as the spark that began the American Revolution. Now that's 1772, so that's prior to this semiquincentennial date. That should be celebrated, and that should be learned by Rhode Island kids. And part of what we're doing is professional development for educators, so they can talk about Rhode Island in the grander context of American history.
It's the preface to the book, but you read it before chapter 1. Right. Okay. Secretary of State Gregg Amore, thanks for coming in. Good luck with the 250th. That's a big deal, and good luck getting the money out of the legislature for your. It's really like a museum/archives, befitting of the stuff we have.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.